Have you ever worked for someone who said all the right things, but felt something was still off? The values sounded right, the message was polished, and the meeting ended in agreement. But over time, people started watching what the leader actually protected, rewarded, and excused. I'm Julian Blair Baldwin, founder of Cohere Leadership Group. I spent more than 2 decades in high-pressure healthcare and tech environments where the cost of misalignment is real. And here's what I've learned. Most organizations think that they have a communication problem or a culture problem. Often they have a fragmentation problem. In this video, I want to talk about the say-do gap, why it damages trust, and what coherent leadership looks like when pressure rises. The say-do gap is the distance between what leaders say they value and what they actually reinforce. A leader says people matters, but rewards behavior that burns people out. A company says integrity matters, but protects the person who delivers results the wrong way. A team says candor matters, but punishes the first person who tells the truth too early. Trust rarely breaks down in one dramatic moment. It erodes through repeated contradiction. People notice, but they may not say anything out loud, but they're watching. I've been in rooms where the language sounded aligned, but the energy shifted because everyone knew the behavior would not match the message. That's when credibility starts to decay. Sometimes it's hypocrisy, but often the deeper issue is fragmentation. Fragmentation is what happens when leaders become different versions of themselves, depending on the room, the audience, or the pressure. One version for the board, another for the executive team, another when money, status, or reputation is on the line. It usually starts as adaptation. The leader softens the truth here, avoids conflict there, adjusts the message to survive the room. But over time, the adjustment becomes a pattern, and people feel the distance between the values being declared and the behavior being protected. That's why the say-do gap matters. It isn't just a messaging failure, it's evidence that the leader's standards no longer hold across rooms. Fragmentation and the say-do gap are not just moral issues, they are operational problems. When leaders are inconsistent, decisions slow down because people don't trust the criteria. Candor declines because people learn which truths are welcome and which are dangerous. Politics increase because people manage optics instead of confronting reality. And accountability weakens because the standards are negotiable depending on who's involved. There's a personal cost too. Living divided is exhausting. Managing multiple versions of yourself drains clarity, peace, and self-respect. I've watched capable leaders wear down, not from the workload, but from the performance required to keep the split alive. Coherence under pressure is what makes leadership durable. I define coherence as a stable alignment of identity, values, and action, especially when the stakes rise. It doesn't mean you say the same words in every room. Context matters, audience matters, judgment matters. What's stable is a standard underneath. A coherent leader may adjust timing, tactics, or tone, but they don't become a different person when the pressure changes. Their team knows exactly what they value. They know how the decisions get made. They know what they will not compromise. That's why I believe in one life, one standard. Leadership shouldn't require multiple selves. The real test isn't whether your values sound good in calm conditions, is whether they survive pressure. The say-do gap rarely begins with one major betrayal. It begins with small contradictions repeated over time. A message that doesn't match the decision. A value that disappears when it becomes costly. A standard that changes depending on the room. Most organizations think that they have communication problems. Often they have a fragmentation problem. So here's the question to sit with. Where does my behavior contradict my stated values? And which version of me shows up when pressure rises? If this was useful, please subscribe. I share work like this with leaders who want to lead from one center. Not many. Thank you for watching. I'm Julian Blair Baldwin.